share my screen with all of you in just a minute. So once again, thanks to everyone for coming into the session. We've just got a very small group joining in today. We are going to be covering a very exciting topic, which is in relation to Deutsche Bahn services, which is specifically related to Germany by rail. So in just a second, I will be sharing my screen with all of you. One second. Okay, perfect. I believe that my screen should be showing now. Okay, great. So basically today is going to be an overall product training session based on Germany by rail and what's new in 2018 at Deutsche Bahn. So Deutsche Bahn, to me personally, has some very exciting rail products to travel on in general. From my own personal experience, traveling on the ICE high-speed trains is one of the most exciting experiences to have if you ever do travel throughout Europe as well. So this presentation was created by the German Railways officially, but they have allowed for us to present it on their behalf here at Rail Europe as well. And if you do have any questions during the session, please feel free to continue, adding them into the chat box. Like I said, we've got a smaller group here today, just a very, very small group. So feel free to add these questions in as the session goes along. Okay, perfect. So getting started. So going through an overall outlook on Germany by rail, Deutsche Bahn's international railway network lets passengers travel throughout Germany and Europe at a high-speed level on ICE, so intercity services, and EC trains, Eurocity services. So just to distinguish between the three different types of, train products that you might be seeing here, you might be quite familiar with seeing these, specifically in Euronet when you are booking these. So ICE train services are, of course, the high-speed rail services that operate both on a domestic and an international level from Germany and beyond. And intercity services are generally high-speed as well. However, they operate purely domestically within Germany, and Eurocity trains connect out internationally as well. So a very exciting feature about traveling by rail in Germany in general is that it's probably one of the most advanced rail network systems, primarily because it connects so well with direct connections linking from major European city centres to city centres, whether or not you're connecting from Germany through to the Netherlands or to Switzerland or even France and beyond. It's very, very easy to travel and connect your passengers' itineraries when traveling and incorporating Germany by rail as well. Another very exciting feature of, traveling by train in Germany as well is the inclusion of airport stations. So a lot of the railway stations, just zooming over here as well, a lot of the railway stations within Germany also feature an airport railway station to allow as much ease and connectivity from your passengers' international air travel and continuing their travel onwards by rail as well. So major cities like Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt and so on also do include major railway stations as well as major airports with a railway station attached. Germany, traveling by train in Germany is so well connected, primarily because they also have over 5,000 different train stations across the entire country. So, and because of course, traveling with Deutsche Bahn as well involves a lot of modernity and great progress when it comes to upgrading their services. Deutsche Bahn really prides itself and offers some fantastic service to its customers, us included, by offering a continuous network expansion by providing as much connectivity as possible across the entire country and beyond as well. So just moving on here, so just a little update on this as well. Since late 2017, there's been an expansion in the railway network, particularly for the route between Berlin to Munich. So the journey now involves travel for under 4 hours. So before this particular rail expansion and this change in the service, traveling from Berlin to Munich, which is a very popular service to travel in general, normally would have taken something like maybe 6 hours or so. But with the new high-speed line expansion across Germany, this now reduces the travel time, saving over 2 hours of travel time when traveling on the train. So in less than 4 hours and up to 10,000 additional ICE seats every day between Berlin to Munich have been added to cater to this very, very popular route as well. So, when traveling by train, of course, you are, of course, it's a lot faster than traveling by car, and of course, much more convenient than flying on a plane as well. And of course, we've got a really exciting video to show, as well throughout the presentation to really compare the difference between traveling by train in Germany versus traveling by car and also traveling by plane. So of course, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but investing in this new high-speed track is a very exciting thing coming from Deutsche Bahn, as well as something that we can offer to our customers to offer even more convenience and travel between two very major cities in Germany as well. So the services that are now being offered as well between Munich to Berlin or in the opposite direction is offered by the ICE Sprinter train. So what they're offering are services 3 times a day in under 4 hours between Munich and Berlin as well. So basically it's possible for an idea that you can offer to your customers as well is to be there in the morning. So arrive, at 10 a.m. and then be back by 10 p.m. So enjoying 8 hours of Berlin or Munich in either direction. So before, because it used to be such a long journey to travel between Berlin and Munich, it wasn't really possible or at all doable to do as a day trip. But nowadays, you can actually incorporate Berlin to Munich or in the opposite direction as a city day trip without any overnight stays. So it's a great thing to offer now with these new services for business and leisure travelers, so that people can really enjoy the cities, with this ICE Sprinter service on a smaller amount of time that they may have to offer as well. So, with this in mind, of course, the line itself does bring much shorter travel times and much more direct connections for larger cities as well as rural areas. So it's now a lot faster to travel from Berlin to Leipzig in Bavaria and then from Bavaria to the Baltic Sea. So now almost over 35% of long-distance services have been affected by this as well, which is something new to remark as well. So of course, time-wise, offering the service between Berlin through to Munich has reduced the amount of time our passengers can be traveling on the train, and also opens up the opportunity for smaller day trips and city trips between these two major cities. But this change also has affected the change has also affected other areas of rail travel as well. So when traveling from Berlin through to Munich, it's in under 4 hours. It's also quite an innovative system, and it's also quite in tune with nature, considering its surroundings as well. So the railways have implemented effective noise protection despite the much higher speed services that are operating between these two cities, and it's also been a 10 billion euro investment in this project as well. So it's something that Deutsche Bahn has really taken into account as well when they have been developing this rail service in general. So I just have a very short video that Deutsche Bahn have presented to us, and hopefully the audio is working. It's a very short video to compare the convenience of rail travel in comparison to other methods of travel in Germany. Whether traveling by car, by plane, or by rail, there is an obvious winner in that 3-part competition there. But so I'll play the little video. There isn't any dialogue in the video, but the music should complement that as well. Ooh, I think that our video is just frozen there. There we go. So I think it was pretty obvious between those three different ways of travel which one was the most convenient and also the fastest to travel on. You might have seen, and this is a really good selling point to offer to your customers and to recommend to them that, you know, when you're traveling by plane on an internal journey within, whether or not it's internal or international as well, this really applies to all rail travel in general. You know, obviously when you're flying to a certain destination, although it's quite, you know, the actual travel itself on the plane doesn't take all that long, there are additional circumstances that are going to add on to the overall time of travel. So, you know, lining up in queues or, you know, checking in at a minimum amount of time prior to travel on a plane, it does all add up, and the overall time it does take for your passenger or even yourself to get from point A to B when traveling by that method can actually take much more time than expected. And then if you're looking at, even you might have noticed he was basically a race car driver on a very, very, very quick car as well. There are additional things to take into consideration when traveling by car instead of train. You'd have to fill up for petrol, you know, take into consideration other circumstances like traffic. So that's another thing to think about as well. But you would have noticed, of course, that when traveling by train, especially on ICE train services, these services 100% run like clockwork, and I can speak from personal experience. I would highly recommend, you know, once in a lifetime trying to travel on the ICE trains in general. So traveling on the train, you don't need to check in within a certain minimum amount of time prior to travel. Furthermore, you know, with the option for electronic tickets nowadays, it's so easy for us to be able to travel on ICE services by simply presenting tickets, you know, on your phone, or by collecting your tickets at the railway station, you know, offering, you know, the Spa price fares or the flex price fares that you can also book through Euronet. So it's very, very convenient, fast, and obviously a much more efficient way to travel in comparison to flying or driving throughout the country as well. So just reintroducing, so I'm just introducing, you know, something here for June 2018, they are going to be introducing a route from Prague to Dresden to Berlin. So from summer 2018, they're going to be offering faster routes between the German and the Czech capital. So they are going to be offering, you know, new locomotives to run and operate the service. And the journey between Prague to Berlin is only going to be 4 hours and 10 minutes, and from Dresden to Berlin only in 1 hour and 50 minutes. So by offering these services to these very popular destinations, they're catering to some of the busiest times for travel, you know, throughout the European summertime as well. One of Deutsche Bahn's goals as well is in 2020 to be able to make the Berlin-Dresden journey in only 19 minutes, which is going to be basically cutting the trip in almost half, because currently it looks like Dresden to Berlin is something like 1 hour and 50 minutes according to this you know, tile schedule for June 2018. But by reducing that amount of time, Deutsche Bahn can then therefore offer more efficient, high-speed services to their customers as well, which is good news for us too. So looking at Vienna to Nuremberg and Frankfurt as well, it looks like they are going to be reducing the amount of travel time by 25 minutes. So between these two very popular destinations, ICE trains will now be operating every 2 hours on the entire route. So between Nuremberg to Vienna, it will only now take 4.5 hours to travel between these two very popular destinations too. So a very exciting feature that you may have noticed as well in this too would be a journey between Milan to Frankfurt. So now we are Deutsche Bahn are now going to be offering daily ICE quality direct connections from Italy to Germany and through Switzerland as well. So in 7.5 hours, the journey can be made completely from Frankfurt to Milan in the morning, and then even doing the return journey in the afternoon if you do wish to do that as well. So the service itself is going to be, you know, operated by SBB on an ETR vehicle. However, it is still going to be primarily owned by Deutsche Bahn, it looks like, according to this information here. So this service is going to be operating daily and without a changeover from Milan to Frankfurt in the morning, and the return journey in the afternoon as well. So with this, with this in mind, a very, very exciting thing to offer to your customers as well. Okay. So now traveling from Zurich through to Stuttgart, not ICE, but intercity availability will now be doubled and supplemented by 2 new intercity trains. So just zooming in over here, so from 7 services to 17 services of IC trains per day and in that direction as well. So they are offering, a much more expanded service when traveling as well. So for those who are just joining in the session, I might just place your microphones on mute just so that we can avoid hearing any background feedback, if that's okay. Thank you so much. But like I said at the very beginning of the session, please feel free to ask any questions throughout the program in the chat box as well. So, because Deutsche Bahn are so great at investing in so much time and effort and modernity into their services, there is going to be a new generation of Deutsche Bahn high-speed travel called the ICE4 trains. So features of this will include, free Wi-Fi in both classes of service, so in both first class and second class as well, offering onboard restaurants and bistros, improved seating on board the train, and then even adaptable lighting so that there's a much more, comfortable experience for those who are traveling on the train itself. So just looking at a quick little look into the train interiors itself. So this is just a quick little visual on what the ICE services look like in first class. So of course they offer luggage racks within the train itself, as well as catering to family and toddler areas, and then leather comfort in first class is available on all of the seats when traveling as well. So displayed in first class is also some live travel information so that passengers can sort of monitor their progress on the journey throughout the trip as well, and even offering space for wheelchair users as well as bicycle spaces. So ICE services have certainly, been much more inclusive in what they are offering so that as many types of passengers can travel on board the services, whether families or those who require wheelchair assistance, and even, for bicycle areas and whatnot. Everything is very, very, accessible for any passenger when traveling with Deutsche Bahn as well. So just moving forward as well, so the ICE4 has really catered toward, understanding its customers and putting the focus on the customer themselves. So what you can expect on the ICE4 train is that it is a relaxed travel for every passenger. So there's definitely going to be a lot more spaces for families on board the train. Sorry, I'm just going to move my zoom over here. So there's going to be space for families where you can keep your strollers on board the train as well, toddler compartments, and family areas and dedicated spaces for passengers to take up as well, and then even more comfort for wheelchair users so that they can travel together with their other passengers too. And like I mentioned before, dedicated bicycle spaces throughout the carriage itself. So looking more at the features of, what the second class, this looks like second and first class in comparison as well. So on the ICE4 trains, there is a lot more focus on onboard wellness with a lot more comfort and more space and an air of relaxation when you're traveling on the service. So these interiors are based on second class travel on the ICE trains. So you might notice that in second class, while there isn't, second class seating doesn't have leather seating per se, however, the 2x2 seating configuration still evokes this air of, comfort and relaxation on a much more cost-friendly budget for your passengers as well. So offering modern lighting and then even individual lighting if you're traveling, in first class as well, and then more room for luggage and space on board the train too. So continuing on with the theme for customer focus on the ICE services, they've implemented a lot more technological focus in there to maintain as much connectivity as possible with their passengers. So Wi-Fi is available on board on both classes of service on the ICE4 trains, and even displaying live information at your passengers' fingertips by providing, on-screen progress of how the journey is faring as well. So so as much visibility as possible and connectivity with passengers enables for the ICE services to maintain its stance as some of the most modern, comfortable, and well-connected journeys on a technological and even on a route level throughout Europe to travel on, even in my own personal opinion as well. So from 2017, Deutsche Bahn started offering some extra services between Hamburg to Würzburg and Munich as well. And from late 2018, the ICE4 services will be continuing every 2 hours from Berlin to Leipzig to Munich. So adding on these additional services to cater for the amount of passengers who are going to be planning to travel on the trains as well. So another great benefit of rail travel as well in comparison to traveling by plane or by car, of course, would be the environmental aspect that you'd be considering. So when traveling on the train, it's eco-friendly technology and also 100% green long distance is something to really, encourage your passengers to travel on as an extra benefit of rail travel as a whole. So on the point of railway stations, operated by Deutsche Bahn, transitions at stations throughout Germany are, even in my own personal opinion, very, very simple and very hassle-free. So Deutsche Bahn have offered a lot more improved info screens for all passengers of any, whether or not international or domestic travellers, to make things as easy as possible for people to travel on when making those changes as well. So they've also included a lot more mobility services and even offered 30 minutes of free Wi-Fi at railway stations so passengers can be connected whether or not they're are just arriving, waiting for their trains, or in between trains and transitioning between from one train to another as well. And in my own personal experience, the staff at pretty much all German railway stations are all very, very helpful at all info points. So you can rest assured that when you are traveling throughout Germany and enjoying the ICE train services as well, if ever you do have passengers who do get lost, the info points are, personally, in my opinion, very, very helpful places to source extra information in finding and orienting your passengers on where to go. So for passengers who are traveling, in first class throughout on Deutsche Bahn services, passengers traveling in first class also have access to DB lounges with the first class tickets, and therefore it makes waiting times for your train up to completely relaxing and comfortable rather than waiting on the platform as well. So these Deutsche Bahn lounges are only available at 15 major railway stations. So Munich and Berlin would be two very important railway stations where these services are also offered. And something that your passengers can enjoy when they are staying at Deutsche Bahn lounges as well would be free Wi-Fi within the lounge, as well as complimentary food and drink. So of course, when you are purchasing a first class ticket for your customer, do check whether or not the destinations they are going to will have a Deutsche Bahn lounge at that destination prior to their travel, and definitely encourage them to enjoy this experience as part of their journey too. So another, like I said before, the services, offered by Deutsche Bahn and on board the ICE services as well, are are certainly very inclusive of what they can offer for all passengers. So they do take barrier-free travel quite seriously. So on these trains and on most of the trains as well, they do offer, elevators for ease of mobility for passengers to get on from the platform into the train itself, and even provide very helpful personal assistance on the trains, and even include wheelchair spaces inside their trains as well. So one very exciting feature of a lot of Deutsche Bahn services is that they also offer a restaurant and bistro on most of their ICE train trips as well. So of course, meals when you are traveling on, with your first class and second class tickets, regardless of your class, meals aren't included with the ticket. However, they can be purchased once the passengers do get to the restaurant bistro on board as well. So it's a really great place for passengers to socialise, relax, and enjoy their journey and away from their seat as well, and enjoy some local cuisine as offered by the staff on board the train as well. So the bistro and the restaurant is very nice. It's quite modern and very, very comfortable to travel in, and also offers a very wide range of food and drinks for passengers to take up as well. Okay, and an additional feature which is quite exciting to add in as well with ICE services is that they have also integrated something called the ICE portal. So what the ICE portal is a network or a particular portal where passengers can provide or receive live updates during the journey, also offering newspapers in first class and also free Wi-Fi in both of the classes of service, like I said. So with the ICE portal, it's a great feature to have, with your device or your tablet or things like that, particularly because free Wi-Fi is available on board. You can connect your device up to the free Wi-Fi and then enter the ICE portal to avail of any exciting information and news that Deutsche Bahn has to offer, as well as give a progress track on how your journey is going as well during the long distance trip. So, and another great thing as well that Deutsche Bahn services offer as well would be to book flexible fare tickets and travel without boundaries. So, of course, I'm sure that everyone here, if, let me just have a look, I'm sure that everyone is aware of, the types of tickets that you can purchase through Euronet for Germany by rail. So you can purchase, open tickets, or you can purchase through the Deutsche Bahn direct connection and purchase Spar price and flex price tickets. So with this very vast range of tickets available when booking through Euronet, a lot of the options are either restricted, which is of course not necessarily a bad thing, particularly if your passenger has a set agenda and a time that they wish to travel. So if they do wish to purchase a Spar price ticket, that's going to be their best option, primarily because it has an allocated time attached to that ticket that the passenger has to travel on. But of course, the biggest benefit is that it is the most cost-effective ticket to purchase for your passenger too. Otherwise, if your passenger wants to have as much flexibility as possible, they can purchase a flex price or even just a normal open ticket with a validity period of 4 days. So that really, like I said, just applies for open tickets, so up to 4 days validity. So train travel domestically within Germany is 100% non-compulsory, which is a fantastic thing as well. So by having, an open ticket or a flex price ticket, you can travel as flexibly as possible, on any train on that specific route as well. And the flexibility aspect is great because if, your plans change, it's quite easy to change your train from departing a 10:30 a.m. train, and you can now travel on a 12:30 train if you wish to, because you don't need to book a seat reservation for these journeys as well. But of course, high speed, although Germany is certainly known for its very, very high speed services and efficiency as well, something that even I personally have traveled on when I was in Germany a couple of years back was also to travel on some of the regional services. So it is a great thing to take it slow when you are on holiday, and Germany's regional services allow for our passengers to explore Germany's regional highlights. So by offering regional day tickets or day tickets for Germany as well, you can explore some more of the remote areas of Germany. So an example would be to travel from Munich to Neuschwanstein Castle by traveling through to Füssen on a regional service. So the regional services generally, in some cases, may only offer one class of service, which in this case is second class. And although it's not as high speed and as modern as an ICE train service, they're very comfortable and still equally as efficient as all trains are when traveling on Deutsche Bahn services too. And although they, like I said, although they may not be high speed, the fantastic part about it is that you can travel on the regional services at your leisure and taking in the scenery and taking it slow throughout your journey too. So, of course, as we all are familiar with as well, is, it's not all just about traveling throughout Germany. Like I said at the very beginning, Germany by rail is probably one of the most connected and one of the best connected, countries internationally across its borders. So by offering either point-to-point tickets or even international rail passes as well, it's definitely a great option to offer to your customers, whether recommending a Eurail pass, a Interrail pass, which is really just for European residents, just to remind, or a German rail pass. You can offer as many flexible options to travel throughout Germany by rail as well. So like I said, this is really just a very light product session, just to give an overview of what's new in 2018 and what upcoming projects Deutsche Bahn have, coming for us as well. But from going through this presentation supplied by Deutsche Bahn, I'm very excited about the updates and the changes that are going to be happening, and some things that we can start offering our passengers as well. Of course, one of the biggest highlights too would be the reduction in travel time from Berlin to Munich. So certainly consider offering that to your passengers as much as possible, because there are so many benefits with the expansion of that rail track as well. But like I said, this is just a very light session, product related, so I will end it there. And I do want to thank those who did join today. I initially thought that we weren't going to proceed with the session with the limited amount of people who came in and joined, but I do appreciate everyone coming. Next week we will rejoin again for a new topic to cover for our online training sessions. And just a reminder for everyone, if possible, to try and arrive, on time, just so that we can meet the minimum amount of attendees required as early as possible, to avoid the session accidentally being suspended because people are coming in late as such. However, thank you again for those who joined. I'm going to end it there. And in case, some people have entered questions throughout the chat box, I will be answering those now verbally as well. But for those who joined, thanks again, and see you again next week. Okay, so for those who are still here, I'm just going to be answering a couple of questions that some people have entered through the chat box. We've got a couple of really good questions here, and I know that the question was asked directly to me, but I will share it with the other attendees so that everyone has the same answer. One question that Vanessa asked, thank you so much for this. You queried, when reserving seats on the ICE trains, is there any way that we can find if the seats are forward or backward facing? So this is a very good question, Vanessa, and thank you for asking this, because I personally get this question quite a lot as well. The only way to really know whether or not your seats are facing forwards or backwards throughout the journey is really to access on extranet as well. So that's another option that you can take up. Although we don't have access to specifically assigning whether or not they are in forward or backward facing seats, because when you're booking through Euronet, everything gets confirmed, randomly. The best thing would be to confirm your seats, confirm your reservations, and then check the corresponding seat map to that as well throughout extranet. So I might as well just quickly show on extranet where you can find that for those who may not be familiar. So let me just bring that up. So trains, domestic. So say, for example, Germany, ICE trains. To find the seat maps, and this is the same protocol for any other train that you're searching the information for, most seat maps you can either scroll all the way to the bottom, or with some of the quick links at the very top of the page. From there you can search and distinguish whether or not your passengers are in a certain seat as well. Okay. Hopefully that answers. That was actually one of the only questions that that got asked directly to me in the chat box. So I will end it there, and I just want to say thank you again to those who still stuck around for the answering of the questions. But we'll repeat again next week for a different topic. And thanks again, and hope everyone has a great week ahead, despite the very busy peak season. And hopefully everyone is, enjoying themselves despite the overall busyness of, people booking European train tickets in general. So thanks so much again to everyone that joined. Thank you. Bye-bye.